Was possibly Boris Spassky's big mistake.
The Russians understood. They warned Spassky. They said, don't give in to him. Don't let him take control with his demands. Don't let it become his match, his tournament.
Mr. Spassky, are you happy with the arrangements for today's game?
He didn't need to agree to it. He could have stuck to his guns, and Fischer would have forfeited the World Championship, and Spassky would have remained world champion.
Instead, Bobby seized the momentum, winning Game 3.
That was a tremendous moment because it was the first time in his life Fischer had beaten Spassky. And it also indicated to us that Spassky wasn't quite on his game. He may have been rattled by all the shenanigans that had already happened.
I don't think Fischer deliberately played psychological games, but the effect of his demands was to psychologically destroy his opponents.
He won 6.5 out of his next 8 games, which it just doesn't make any sense against a player of Spassky's caliber.
The Soviets even begin to wonder whether CIA are poisoning Spassky. They check the chairs, they take the lights apart, and all they can find are 2 dead flies.
A sample of his orange juice is flown to a KGB laboratory in Moscow for testing.
They were measuring all kinds of beams and rays that could get into there.
It can't be the case that Spassky is just crumbling like this in the face of Fischer's psychological onslaught.
No evidence was discovered, and the match continued.
I think the second half of this match, there was much more of a fight somehow, because Spassky had, he had regained his composure, he had also regained his self-confidence,
But Game 11 would be Spassky's last victory. After 7 consecutive draws, Bobby was on the verge of winning the title. Midway through the 21st game, Spassky conceded. The World Championship belonged to Fischer.
What does it feel like after 20 years to suddenly become the world champion?
Feels pretty good.
I can't say I was actually crying, but I was misting up. I felt extremely proud that Bobby finally made it, and he was an American, and he had defeated the Soviets.
Coming from behind against great odds, against the Soviet machine, it was a wonderful moment.
Next up, Fischer stuns the chess world.
Fischer just disappeared. No speeches, no giving autographs, and it was to foreshadow what he was going to do for the rest of his life.
He stopped playing. He disappeared.
After wresting the 1972 World Chess Championship from Russian Boris Spassky, Bobby Fischer returned to America to a hero's welcome.
I hope to see more and more Americans playing chess. Chess is a great game. A game and a sport for the mind.
The world is Fischer's oyster now. He is set to become a multimillionaire.
This symbolically says the king is dead.
Not yet, he isn't.
He's offered lucrative sponsorship deals. He's offered huge prize money to appear in tournaments. Doesn't happen. He doesn't make a cent.
Bobby turned down nearly every single offer.
He won't sign his autograph, let's say, for $100 if you get $1 and he gets 99. He feels that he's entitled to get it all.
Instead, Bobby retreated to Pasadena, California, headquarters of Herbert Armstrong's Worldwide Church of God. Bobby had earned $200,000 for his victory in Iceland. He gave 20% to the church. In exchange, the church rented him an apartment and granted him use of its massive campus.
You need a place to stay. You need friends like myself, which I basically introduced him to a number of people that did different things for him. He had access to a car 24/7.
Over the next 3 years, Bobby made few public appearances. In 1975, he was scheduled to defend his world title.
Fischer makes 179 demands before he agrees to play Anatoly Karpov. The authorities concede 177 of them. Fischer sticks to his guns, and they make one more concession. It turns out there's only one final sticking point, which they can't agree to.
Bobby demanded a change in the scoring, with draws not counting, and the champion needing to win 9 games, and the challenger 10 to take home the title. The proposal was rejected.
Fischer won't compromise, and so forfeits the World Chess Championship.
He could have gone on playing and winning and playing more of these beautiful games. God knows how long he could have been world champion.
There was huge offers for Fischer to reappear in the chess world.
It's really hard to understand why he didn't grab some of that money. I mean, it's unfathomable.
He had this sense almost of divinity, and that no one could tell him what to do. And if he wanted $500,000 to play in a match, or $1 million or $2 million, that's what he wanted. And if you weren't willing to pay the piper, he wasn't going to play.
He could have lived any fantasy that a man ever had.
In the late 70s, the worldwide Church of God was splintered by leadership scandals. Over time, the church became aligned with more traditional Christian doctrines, but Bobby was long gone.
Bobby stopped being involved with people that were reaching out and saying, I want to help you. Stopped taking care of himself, added weight.
Essentially, he began the process of isolating himself and retreating into his own world and his own mind and whatever was going on inside of that.
One of his opponents said that he wandered around with a suitcase full of Chinese pills because they were going to be antidotes for any poisoning attempt that the Soviets made on him.
His paranoia, fear that everybody was after him.
And then there's a famous surreal incident in 1981 where he is picked up and mistaken for a bank robber and writes a pamphlet, I was tortured in a Pasadena jailhouse. And it contains various bizarre allegations.
He signed it, of course, Robert J. Fischer, World Chess Champion. After, of course, the title had passed on. The title he felt he had always had, he never relinquished in his mind.
As Bobby disappeared into seclusion, his whereabouts and his actions became a mystery.
There were always rumors of him going to bookstores in Los Angeles looking for neo-Nazi books, breaking off relationships with people because they were Jewish.
Year after year, Bobby rejected offers to return to the chess world. Then, a teenage girl changed the course of history.
A wonderful young woman from Hungary wrote him this terrific letter, beautiful writing, 16 years old. And she said, what are you doing not playing chess? You're the Mozart of the era. You're the Einstein. You're the greatest champion that's ever lived. Why are you not playing anymore?
The girl, Zita Rashanyi, became Bobby's pen pal. When a Yugoslavian sponsor put up a $5 million purse to lure Bobby out of retirement, Zita convinced him to accept. But not everyone liked what they saw.
He really looked angry at the world all of the time.
That's my answer.